Hey, if you can't feel your chest contract on exercises like a push-up or a bench press, you're gonna have one heck of a time making it grow. So what we need to do is optimize your technique and get your body in a position where you can optimally recruit your chest to maximize chest growth. Now check out this first video here. If you look at my arms, you notice I'm making a T, right? And so I'm talking about making a T, I'm talking elbows are flared out and we're at strict 90-degree angles coming out like so. A couple issues that happen right here. One, when we're in this position, we're actually gonna put a little bit more friction directly on the shoulder joint. And one of the reasons most people actually struggle to build their chest and frankly, build a good upper body in general is shoulder injuries and shoulder pain. So we don't wanna force that wide externally rotated press for most people. What we're gonna do a lot better with is gonna be tucking the elbow back at say a 45-degree to 75-degree angle. And so if you think about it, instead of being out here making a T, making a V, right? T, V. And so we do a bench press and we tuck just slightly here. One, we're gonna get a better range of motion, but we're also going to put the shoulder in a more advantageous position. When we do this, we're gonna be able to press, yes, a little bit heavier for most people. You're gonna recruit your chest a little bit better and be able to actually train your shoulders consistently without dealing with shoulder pain or dysfunction. So make sure we're tucking those elbows just slightly when you're doing a bench press. And again, look at the video here. Notice I'm wide coming out and then I'm clanking the dumbbells together. Instead, nice and smooth, just outside the chest and press all the way to the top. Now notice on these reps directly with the bench press, notice I'm not smashing the dumbbells together. What we want to focus on is actually keeping a little bit of space when you come through that press and not hitting the dumbbells together. Every time you hit those dumbbells together, you're actually taking tension directly off of your chest. And so think of this simple cue. You want to imagine when you do your press that you're trying to make your nipples touch without having the dumbbells touch. So the squeeze should come from a good full range of motion, press, and squeezing up top, but not touching the dumbbells together. Now, when you're doing a bench press or when you're doing a push-up, the same principle applies. What you're gonna do is instead of say flaring out in this T position, yeah, we wanna be in that V position like we talked about, a slight tuck in the elbow, but you're gonna push your hands into the ground and imagine squeezing them together. With that slight adjustment, that isometric tension that you're putting directly into the floor, you're gonna start recruiting those chest fibers a lot more because we're getting that adduction stimulus, which is a key role directly in the pec, right? So again, when you're doing a push-up or any type of bench press, what we wanna do is imagine squeezing the nipples together, and specifically when we're doing a push-up, squeezing those hands together directly into the floor isometrically is gonna help fire some of that adduction type activity that fires up the pec so you can have better muscle fiber recruitment. Now take a look directly at these bench presses. I'm not just ripping through this range of motion with zero control. What we're focusing on here, direct tempo training. So when you're lowering, what we should be doing is lowering with about a 3-second eccentric tempo. That is gonna help overload the tissues quite a bit more. And then before we come back up for the pause, have a 1 to 2 second pause directly on the bottom. What this does, this allows the dissipation of elastic energy, meaning the energy that gets stored in your tendons and ligaments dissipates, and then the chest, your pecs, have to help overcome that resistance and work that much harder. If you look at the majority of people when they're doing a bench press, what are they doing? They're coming down and bouncing right back up because they're doing it for their ego. But building a big chest is less about having a big bench press and more about actually feeling your chest contract, getting a good full range of motion, and making sure that your chest is doing the work, not just your anterior delts and your triceps. Now I showed you a couple demonstrations on the bench press. Let me fire up a couple variations on a push-up. So with our elbow position, we are not coming out to the side like this. When most people flare their elbows out to the side, what happens? Their ass shoots up or it looks something like this and they come up uneven. What we want to do, again, is tuck the elbows back around that 45-degree angle. Now, in addition to that tuck position, what do we want to do? We want to make sure we're putting that isometric tension into the ground. So what I'm doing with my hands here is I'm imagining pushing it together, and you can actually see my muscles tense up when I do it to create more tension on my chest. So put them all together. So look, if you want to build your chest and not just have your shoulders and your triceps take over, you have to master these little principles. Tuck your elbows around that 45 to 65-degree angle. We're making a V, not a T. Next, we need to avoid cranking the dumbbells together. Instead, we want to imagine the cue, make your nipples touch, whether we're doing that directly on a push-up or a dumbbell press. And number 3, focus on your training tempo. Do not let your ego take control here. A lot of times big benchers don't always have big chests because they master the stretch reflex, they get a huge arch, and they're very strong with their anterior delts and their triceps. Not saying they have a weak chest, but the way that they bench for a big bench is completely different than if you want to try to maximize chest development. So if you found value directly from this video, do me a favor, drop me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and let me know what you want to see next, because your feedback is exactly what we need to create the most relevant content for you. And always, if you want to look great naked without living in the gym, find me over on Instagram at Bach Performance, send me a DM with the keyword lean, and I will show you how.